thank you everyone for coming. We're honored to have Dean Shaw again, who's I think this is like his seventh or eighth time speaking to PreMedCC, and he has been the Dean of Admission at Stanford since 2005, when he was 19 years old, and uh, and he's also had numerous positions at Yale, at University of Michigan, and at University of Colorado, and at UC Berkeley. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge. He's been involved in numerous associations with and consortiums on uh, college board financing and other uh, organizations with a lot of acronyms. He is the Dean of Admission and Financial Aid at Stanford University, and we're glad that he's able to join us. And Dr. Ingram, who's actually going to join us in a few minutes, she is the director of the transfer advising at Stanford and supports all undergraduate transfer students after they transfer for their academic advising in uh, man, managing and navigating Stanford. She has been in the position since 2021, and she's had numerous positions at other universities, at Washington University in St. Louis, and has a doctorate in political science. So she will be here shortly, and we'll just get started with Dean Shaw first.
All right. Well, I am amazed that all of you decide to spend a late Friday afternoon listening to a talking head like me. I appreciate that, and really appreciate the fact that you're thinking about the future. But I'm very impressed with the fact that, and of course, I can't count anybody, so it's conceivable there are two of you here, but I'm hoping that maybe there are others. And I think I would emphasize that, yes, this is certainly about pre-med or medical fields, but it's also to any community college student who is interested in moving to the four-year sector. And I want to thank Jobin for inviting me and us to this important organization because I think you're all thinking ahead and trying to embrace what the possibilities are. And I also really want to thank somebody who reached out to me who's a senior at Stanford, Sebastian Pintes, who came to the webinar in 2022. And so I'm taking all the credit for all of his successes, but I appreciate the fact that he reached out as well.
Actually, tomorrow on Saturday, we have 6 Stanford transfer students
Oh,
who
Lord.
all attended this session. Some of them last year, some of them the year before. So you
Okay,
come
so
in.
I'm going to take credit for all of them. Clearly, tremendously good taste. Well, that's good news, and he'll be in that group, and that's exciting. But clearly, your involvement in pre-med CC, all of it suggests that many of you are interested in pursuing health professions, and that's fantastic. In fact, I'll call you as soon as you become a doctor for health advice. But I know many of you there are many other options. And that's, I want to emphasize that there's a wide array of majors. Sometimes students come here with all sorts of intentions and have everything worked out and thought out, but then they start to realize that it's still a place where there's so many choices that they can make as it relates to their pursuing their higher education and then their major areas of interest. So, but this is the next stage of your education, and all of you certainly have had solid undergraduate breadth, and we're excited that you are on this pathway to higher education and certainly to the health professions for many of you. It's an honorable objective to pursue the health sciences, and of course, that's some of the fastest growing area in the world right now, not only in terms of everybody's interest, but in terms of a new world of artificial intelligence. So you're coming at a time where there's never been more extraordinary work being done and research being done and discovery being done than there is today. So this is a great time to, I think, be in higher education. And I know you've also talked to practitioners, and you're going to talk to students tomorrow, and I'm sure faculty along the way. I am really happy to be, and I again, Doctor. This is so typical of computers. She was having a little bit of technical issue, but hopefully she's going to jump in. But to be joined by Dr. Ingrid Anderson, and she's director of transfer advising and a mentor really to our transfer population. So those young folks you see tomorrow or the folks you see tomorrow may have certainly been engaged with Ingrid over time. But an incredible resource. Of course, it has colleagues around the nation as well who helps enrolling and continuing transfer students here navigate their way through a Stanford education. You have very good people, which is clear even in this group, that are giving you strong advice, and that's at your community colleges as well. I think all of that is important in terms of how you craft and your plan for the future. Also out here in the audience is Shari Wilson, who's on our staff here, the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions. And I just want you to know that she's one who manages our transfer process. So appreciate her being here as well. Perhaps some of you will apply to Stanford, and I know many of you are determining your next educational steps towards a four-year degree. I just get excited every time I think about it because I think that's really conceptually, what the whole idea of the first 2 years of the community colleges is that certainly you can go on to a vocation, but in many cases, students go on to the four-year sector. And I used to be involved in articulation agreements many, many years ago between the University of California and the community colleges. So I've got a very strong and positive sense of the experiences you've had in the classroom. But it's important for you to review your options, which many of you, I think, are now doing, where you want to be in your educational trajectory. This is all about trying to make those kinds of decisions. And the important objective is to take the next step, in identifying four-year colleges. And again, I'm going to broaden this and universities. As you heard, I've been in a lot of different places. There are amazing opportunities for you to meet your academic, intellectual, and career objectives. So I think it's really important to have breadth in terms of your choices, to look at schools and colleges as you might have on the front end as you thought about going into your first year of college, but look at those institutions around the state of California and around the nation, and see what might meet your needs, because a lot of them will. There's no absolute best place. I know this doesn't sound very competitive on my part, but to land your higher education, if you focus on the exceptional advice you get in community college and through PreMedCC, and you're ensured to engage in, I hope, appropriate curriculum for your goals, and you'll have wonderful options. So keep those options open and look broadly. And at the end of the day, as you make this transition and hear the outcomes of school or colleges, or have colleges to consider, you should embrace it and find joy in it. As I said earlier, I know in the public sector, since I've had a lot of my experience in the public sector, many state colleges and universities have articulation agreements, and I think those are very good. Sometimes they're nuanced towards one campus or another, so you have to pay attention. But I think they really are, a good foundation for doing the right thing, because the UCs, for example, I think the CSUs, I'm not sure, but have these agreements between their campuses and the community colleges, and they give you recommendations of, And I would, as again, I did it for Berkeley, but I think if you follow those kinds of breadth requirements in your community college experience, I think you're going to benefit from it. And I think they're pretty clear, and I think generally would actually be pretty strong as it relates to the way we would go about looking at the transition. The other part of it is, and some of you are, and some of you might not be, and you might want to consider it, is to be part of the honors programs in community colleges. We have a consortia of those even here where we work in Northern California with community colleges and their honors programs to have, and those are very interesting because they allow the community college students to do research, which is good, and then the research is presented. We've held those partnerships both on the Berkeley and Stanford campus with our community colleges here, but honors programs are very good because they really are putting you into a place which I would suggest makes you even a bit more competitive for a position in really selective institutions and in transferring to four-year institutions and really hopefully allow you to have more options as you think about the next step. Okay, so turning to Stanford, okay, we'll do that. Rest assured, we evaluate and admit fantastic and wonderful students. I'm so excited. All of those characters are going to be there tomorrow, so you can hear and talk to them and get feedback. And we have access on our website, certainly about all the admissions processes and certainly the information that you're going to need to apply. So you should probably go into that admissions tab at Stanford and look at the information that we provide for transfers to Stanford. I just want you to know that we celebrate, and I do, and embrace transfer students. I have to confess, this is one of my favorite groups. I want to be honest however, and it's not a surprise to you, but I'm going to use a double uh, sort of adjective for this by saying very, very competitive. And you know that it is true. We get a lot of candidates, and that's why I think about this as there's so many that are certainly absolutely qualified, but we only have so much space that we can utilize for students. So, uh, but there's no strict formula in our process. We really try to approach the review and broadly and deeply and care about who you are as a human being. But obviously, the academic record is foundational. How well you've done matters. The preparation, the kinds of courses you've taken matter. Maybe the rigor of those courses, to the extent possible, are primary in our review. And courses you take, and obviously the grades you get matter. This expectation is joined by, those are foundational, but joined by your own story, your perspective, through the application questions that we give you. They're a wonderful opportunity for you to sit back and really reflect and think about the question itself and basically respond to it authentically and with honesty and share with us your perspective as it relates to the questions that we ask. But we round out this evaluation by reviewing recommendations. So this sounds like the first year, but it is, and we look at faculty members. We ask for feedback from academic administrators, and all of that is taken into account in the holistic review of your candidacy. Just to give you a sense of community college students, so you can imagine there are thousands of schools across, and the university, Stanford serves the nation. It's very primary populations in California, but we really have students from all 50 states generally and over 80 countries. So it gives you some sense of the breadth. But last year, 49% of the successful transfers were from 35 community colleges, and so it gives you a sense that there is a commitment to trying to serve the 2-year sector. And there's traditional and they're non-traditional, but the age range is from 17 to 40 of this recent incoming class. So coming from a lot of different life experiences. And I want to bring emphasis to this that there really is no typical transfer. The only thing that tends to be coherent is, again, your preparation. That does matter, but all of these other characteristics play into it. So 30% of this year, last class were first generation in their family to attend a 4-year university, and that's of course stopping at the community colleges along the way. And we have a major commitment to first gen low income kids, folks, and that's very important. But in case one of you or several of you might be in the military, 14% of last year's class at Stanford were U.S. veterans, 4 Army, two Navy, 2 Air Force, 3 Marines. So we had pretty much the entire military complex represented in the class. And again, these were vets who might have been active duty vets and then went to the community college as well. We have community college vets, and then took the next step. And we have a strong partnership with Service to School and Vet Link. So all of these folks were getting some good advice from those places. Well, transfer students bring with them broad and deep and diverse life experiences. That's what I mean about how much I like them, because we read so many interesting life stories, and that makes for an incredible and robust and interesting and really compelling community. They're very tight here. The transfer students, are pretty excited, and they get to know each other really well, and they really are a community within a community. And so again, among my very favorite new students. So in planning your Stanford application, the deadlines are important, is March 15th. March 15th, if you're interested in Stanford. And we're going to try to make decisions around mid-May. The admissions officers at this moment here are deeply immersed in the review of the first year students. You all recall that at some point in your life, and we start that process and go on for a number of months there. But then we turn to the transfer review and enjoy your candidacies. And again, the process is most competitive. I can't. That's why I keep saying, make sure to broaden your horizons. But you'll find that we do not really subscribe to absolutes. We do care a little bit about, we care a lot about whether the coursework that's coming in is transferable and we can add credit to it, because we really aspire to have transfer students who will have come in with 2 years of credit and then have 2 years at Stanford, primarily maybe finishing out the breadth requirements, but also focusing on their major and graduating in 2 years. So that doesn't always work, but it's an aspiration certainly that we have. We generally you should engage in classes at the community college, which are in courses that are going to be academically transferable, that you have a very good sense. That's why I go back and just say, look at some of those articulation agreements. They may make sense. They may not be perfect for Stanford, and if you have questions, perhaps reach out and share those questions in terms of worry about certain courses. But we really are interested in academic breadth requirements across the humanities and social sciences, natural sciences. We have an incredible School of Sustainability now, but and courses in mathematics and certainly in engineering. All these areas are areas that you will be ultimately, you might find your place, but obviously you want to be as best prepared as you can be. Most competitive candidates will have that 2 years of credit under their belt, and it will hopefully be in a position to transfer with some ease. So we're looking at coursework, and that would be applicable breadth requirements at the lower division, and hopefully exceptional preparation to navigate toward a desired major. I often think, as I said earlier, that people come in with this idea that they know exactly what they want to do, and then we fool them by giving them some opportunity to experiment and to take advantage of taking courses in areas that they hadn't even thought about, or in academic areas that they hadn't thought about, and they changed their mind. But ultimately, that's the joy of an undergraduate education. So look at the transfer policies and pay attention. Each department, you should know this, every department, every major department has complete oversight of what courses will apply to the major. And so that's something that you even have to start thinking about as it relates to if you have something you want to pursue, how am I tracking? And I think Dr. Anderson will be, the significant advisor in this, in terms of trying to help navigate that. But ultimately, you're going to be working with the individual departments at Stanford. The registrar at the lower division level, that is the courses you're bringing in, does the credit transfer in that case. So caution that you should in community college look at in community college courses is part of the high school requirements that will not transfer. That is, I'm sorry, I didn't say that well. If you took community college courses as part of your high school requirements, they don't transfer, and some students do that. So just keep that in mind. You can't use them twice. And furthermore, if you want to, if your units transfer and you requirement you spend 2 year you have to spend 2 years at Stanford for graduation. So whatever you transfer, there is a rule. You can't come here and finish in a year. You have to come here and spend 2 years. So let me shift for a moment to expectations, the essence of the review. We read all the applicants that submit applications, and that's important. The applications include your part and provide demographic information, of course, about who you are, and responding essays and short questions. And we really reapproach a review taking into account the information you've submitted, all of it, including your essays. This concept of holistic means we look at the record as foundational, but we also look at you and your voice and your perspectives and your aspirations. And of course, then your recommendations, those that have, so it's, I don't know why this would be not obvious wisdom, but it's nice if you get recommendations from individuals who you have developed a nice academic relationship with. And then we ask the colleges to just simply verify certain information about your attendance. We also require your high school transcript, and for me, I don't know if I could ever find it, but or a school equivalency, a GED, and then we also are asking for SAT or ACT scores. So I know in some cases that you may not have taken those tests, or the pandemic got in the way. So To the extent that there were barriers, you might let us know that in terms of with your application. But generally, we'd like to see that information as well. We also have an option for students to submit an arts portfolio, and that's a different process, but it's a process that's really on the early side of the transfer application. And you can present something in music or art practice or theater and dance. So that's a possibility that might be of interest to some of you. So you're allowed one supplemental letter of support, and often it's somebody. Obviously, there are people who know you really well, and it might be relevant to your academic journey. So certainly you can submit a recommendation basically a third recommendation. So it's important to understand that we have a strong preference for students applying with the aggregate records equal to 2 full years. I've said it multiple times, but I'm saying it again. And the college work will be prevalent college work, which is in the recent past. That is just recent or recent past. The more that the work you've done is in the recent past, the stronger your preparation is really. And so we look for that as well. We hope you've compiled that 2 years of transferable coursework, but of course, we're going to look. We require all the transcripts from all the schools that you've attended, and we'll look at the aggregate amount of information that you submit. So, but everything is all of those academic records are required. But
There's a lot of questions for ACT and SAT, which is required. Which one do you recommend, and what should be the score?
well, let's see, which one's payroll am I on? No, no, that's not right. I don't. I think it's a great question. They're both extraordinary tests. I think California tends to the SAT tends to dominate, but the ACT is a very good test. And I suppose if you were to ask me what I would take, I'd probably take the ACT. Don't tell anybody I said that. But if you have access to it, I think it's a test that it just is slightly different in its formats. But last and not least, for all of you, guess what? You can't go to these places unless it's affordable. So affordability means everything, and financial aid is a very, very important part of this process. We're need-based, and we look at your unique circumstances. We consider whether you're dependent or you're still dependent on your family or your parents, or whether you're independent. All of that. But we'll consider their family or parent or guardian background if that's appropriate, or we'll consider your own financial circumstances. The good news is that Stanford, if it family income or your income is $100,000 or less with typical assets, we're going to cover tuition, room, and board. It's basically the full Monty on this, and guarantee, and then above that, we guarantee tuition, full tuition, $150,000 or less. So these are big numbers, but it's good news that we really want to provide the kind of financial support that will help you get through the process, and particularly without debt and without having to take out loans. We also certainly have vets here who may take advantage of their VA benefits, but they also can choose not to, and maybe save them for graduate school. So they would still have access to need-based financial aid. Well, in closing, let me just say I encourage you to open up your horizons and aspirations, and absolutely take this next step to a 4-year degree. keep in mind there's just a broad array of options for you out there. And you can be pre-med or be interested in medical careers and go all over a number of places and see that uh, become a reality. And again, my own pathway has been such where I realized just how incredible the options are. And so it's going to take some hard work for you to get in there and really think about looking at the breadth of the possibilities. I mean, in this state alone, with the Cal State system, with the private colleges, with the private universities and the University of California, all of them are, just incredible options. And so I would just say, ultimately at the end of the process of going through this, I'm extraordinarily hopeful that you'll be successful and you'll be pursuing that baccalaureate, which is fantastic. And you should embrace it and never feel any level of regret. You should just say, if something doesn't work out, just just focus on the things that do work out, and then take it the distance, and you'll be. And many students who have transferred to Stanford or transferred to the four-year sector then get so excited about learning they go on to master's degree and doctoral degrees or professional degrees. All of those things are possible, and it's just the key is for you to keep focused and keep the eye on the prize, because education does matter. It really does. So I think the options and foundations you have are in terms of you have to think about that in terms of your own academic and life objectives. And the truth is, uh, the academic experience is something you'll reflect back on in your life and go, I am so glad I did this. And the goal is, of course, to take advantage of it and to excel. And then I think it provides opportunities that in so many cases you didn't dream of. And so I hope that all of you find your way to those outcomes. So with that, I'm going to turn this, I hope, over to Dr. Anderson, who is involved in advising and counseling here. And is she here?
Yes.
Yay. So whenever we can have her speak, and then we can take questions if, or, towards the other end here. Whatever,
Yes.
whatever you want to do.
Oh, Dr. Anderson, you have the floor. Her and I have been answering some of the questions in the chat already, so
Okay, great.
she's a much faster typer than I am.
All right.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. Just thrilled that I can be here because I was having lots of technical difficulties. But it looks like they're working pretty good, knock on wood. I have a presentation that I'm going to go ahead and provide for you. It's not too long, it's pretty brief, but might address some of your questions. And some, I think I heard Dinshaw answering some of this information or addressing some of these issues already, but that's okay. Let's go ahead. I want to start with the facts. I like to be really clear, transparent as much as I can be. I do want to just put it out there. Yes, it's hard to transfer to Stanford. I think everybody knows that. And the admission rate for transfers is somewhere around 2%, is from what I understand. I won't go into details because I don't have those details. And I can tell you, in my personal experience, I've been in this role for a year and a half now as the director of the transfer advising program. Um, all transfer students, without exception, are just incredible people in terms of what they've achieved and in their lives. And not all cookie cutter, an extremely diverse group of folks. I'm sure Dean Shaw has already talked about that anyway. But yes, so It is difficult to get in. You do have to be an exceptional student or an exceptional person, but you don't want to assume that you have to be perfect to come to Stanford, because that is not the case. I will just say, I'm not involved in the admissions process. I start working with transfer students individually after they have been admitted and signed on, agreed to come to Stanford. And maybe I should pause here because I didn't really explain my role. And I did talk a little bit about it on one of the questions. So my formal title is that I am the director of the Transfer Advising Program. That is a program of one person, but I think they put it that way because my job includes not just academic advising, but also working to put together programming that is in support of transfer students. And a lot of that programming happens in the summer before classes actually start. I also work with our campus partners to address problems that are challenges that often come up for transfer students. For example, our commencement, we have commencement's awesome. And we have a great commencement website. But it can be hard to maneuver for transfer students just because the site is designed for undergrads who started out as frosh. So that's fine, but I'm working on right now to put together a web page for transfer students that simplifies the process. So I don't know of any other universities that have just one person whose sole responsibility is working with transfer students. And I think that's one of the benefits of being here. And that also means that I'm a pretty good person to talk to about what the transfer student experience is. The transfer students themselves are way better at it, but I can help with that. Here's another it's addressing a frequently asked question, what classes should I take now if I want to major in blank? And you might have already heard that Stanford does not admit transfer students for a particular major. And you are accepted as a student. And once you are accepted, you may study whatever you like. And as Dean Shaw said, you might come in thinking that you want to be a philosophy major, and then decide you want to be a computer science major. Or the opposite, you might swear that you want to study computer science and then find something in the philosophy department or political science, that's my field, that really just captures you in a way you never anticipated. We have majors that you might not have ever heard of. And so you do have freedom to explore when you get here. I will say that if you're interested in STEM, take as much calculus as you can. That will speed things up. Now, caveat, the math department recently changed online courses may be transferred if they meet the requirements, graduation requirements for your program. So an associate's degree. However, physics and the math departments will not accept math credits to count as specific math courses at Stanford, or physics and math courses. So in other words, I do encourage you to get as much calculus as you can if you can do it in person. I'm not saying don't take calculus if the only way you can do it is online, but you might have to repeat a class. So keep that in mind. I also want to let you know that you will be expected to choose your major by the end of your first year. Now that's not a hard and fast rule, and I'm the person that actually decides how strongly to enforce the rule. But we really want you to make sure to try to come to a decision by the end of the first year. That means you have the first quarter, the second quarter, and even the third quarter to explore different options. And I'll just go over what are the requirements for earning a Stanford degree. You will have to earn at least 180 units, and that will include the units that you transfer to Stanford. The maximum number of units you can transfer is 90, which is the equivalent of 2 years at Stanford, which is why you're expected to stay another 2 years at Stanford.
And those are quarter units.
Yes, quarter units. And thank you. And you will also be expected to complete general education requirements. There will be a writing requirement, which is 2 classes, a writing 1 and a writing 2. Most people, you can possibly transfer them in. You will have a distribution requirement that ensures, we call it our ways of thinking, ways of doing, and that ensures that you have some breadth to your education. And then there's also a language requirement. We expect all of our students before they graduate to have the equivalent of 1 year of language training. So that's 2 semesters or 3 quarters, depending on the program you're in. And then, of course, you have to complete a major. Let's see. Okay. And I know I heard Dean Shaw talking about this as well. We don't have an articulation agreement. Once you accept admission, you will have your coursework will be evaluated in a multi-stage process. The first step of that process is that the registrar's office will decide how many general units you can transfer. Again, there's a maximum of 90 units that you can maximum of 90 quarter units that you can transfer, or the equivalent of 90 units on the quarter system. Now, as far as transferring, making sure that some of those specific classes can count toward a major, or seeing if they can count toward a language requirement or to the writing requirement, there are separate processes that you would have to take. We have each of those has a different portal. And that's something that we start working on with admitted students in June, early June. As soon as the deadline for deciding whether or not you're going to come to Stanford is met, then we quickly start working on figuring out how you can petition or request transfers for the major courses, language and writing. So the system was recently revised. It works out much better than it did my first year, but it's not easy, but you'll have me here to help you with that. That's a big part of my job. And so that's something in this final, I think this is, the final slide. What happens if I am admitted? Academic advising, that's the department I work under, supports transfer students in many ways. All of this happens before you come to camp, or before classes start. So first of all, there are information sessions. I hold information sessions for admitted students even before they've committed to Stanford. And then starting as soon as you are officially a Stanford student, you're matriculated, then we have Approaching Stanford reaches out. That's the process by which you learn everything you have to do to get ready for the fall quarter. They have a website, they have newsletters, they have a Slack channel, they have a Canvas system. They have lots of ways to get information to our admitted transfer students, or all students. And then in addition to that, we have transfer workshops. Those are the workshops I hold. This year, we had about 6 of them that kind of go through the process for transferring your courses, exploring majors, selecting your courses and such. And we also have one-on-one advising. That's took about a month. We had quite a few admitted students this year. Basically, it's you and me, or the admitted student and I, talking for about an hour, going over what their interests are, what majors they're thinking about exploring, and basically just helping the admitted transfer students plan or start planning for the fall quarter, what kind of courses they want to take, and looking into petitioning, requesting evaluation of their transfer courses. And then finally, there's Transfer Visit Day. That's for students who can come to campus usually in August. and you get a chance to meet with some of your colleagues or your peers, and learn about some of our campus partners, support services, and things like that. This all happens before orientation begins in the fall. So lots of support. And then, the final pages, I have undergraduate admissions website, which I'm sure all of you know how to reach. And I can take some questions that are I can take questions that concern the experience once students are admitted to transfer or to Stanford.
So some people, there's a bunch of questions about, oops, sorry, the 90 units, the 45 units. Can you go a little bit over that? If somebody has maybe 100 units, what happens?
Yes. So if somebody has, because that does happen, somebody has more than 90 units, they are still going to be limited to transferring. They're going to be cut off at 90 to how many units they can transfer. However, the registrar's office goes through their transcripts, their previous institution's transcripts, and identifies which courses are very similar to what we offer at Stanford. And if there are just so many, they'll they at their discretion decide, which ones are not going to be counted. If a student, um, let's say, for example, decides that they want to study history, major in history, and they find that their history course wasn't counted just because we couldn't count everything, they can ask the registrar's office to swap that out with another course that you won't be using. Say, oh goodness, sociology. You're not going to study sociology. You can swap that with a history course, or I don't know, a physics or something like that. So transfer students can bring in 90 units. Students that come in as freshmen, apply through the traditional process, are limited to bringing in a total of 45, a max of 45 units. And those 45 units include AP scores as well. Yeah. Same with the 90 units. AP scores are included. If you get some credit for AP scores, then those will count toward that 90 unit limit.
The other thing is people wanting to know about the language requirement. Can you go a little bit about that? If you're taking an online or a native speaker,
Oh,
or
good question. I'm glad you mentioned it. So yes, if you are a native speaker, if you went to high school in another country and speaking a different language, learning a non-English language, a language other than English, then you can request through the Language Center. The Language Center is the organization that manages the language classes and makes sure everybody is satisfying that requirement. You can request that they waive that requirement for you or exempt you from that requirement. Online classes generally are not approved for transfer. If you've taken, say, 2 semesters of a language, enter community college, you can request that those transfer to Stanford to satisfy the Stanford language requirement. They may or may not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And if they don't, then you will be required to take a language placement exam. I encourage everybody to take the language placement exam the summer before they arrive. So that, because if you place out of that first year, if your language placement is, say, the second year of the first semester of the second year of that language, you're exempt. You've done it. You've satisfied the requirement. It doesn't matter what else. You don't even have to have your classes evaluated if you've taken 2 semesters. It's just an easy way to satisfy the requirement. If, however, you took 2 semesters of a language at your previous institution and you don't pass the placement exam, that's okay. We're not going to hold that against you. So take the placement exam if you get accepted.
Yeah. And if you're over 90 units, would it be looked at negatively? And I think that's an admission question.
Yes, that's an admissions question.
Where am I here? Oh, there I am.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, the answer is well, it depends. If you're 120 or you've practically graduating but again, because we have a rule to cap it at 90, that's the decision you have to make. We might admit, but you still have to realize you're going to lose a lot of that credit. And usually the problem usually ends up it's not really, it doesn't tend to be a community college issue. It tends to be if there's a 4-year transfer, they sometimes will come in fairly late, and that creates a little bit of a problem. So yeah, but I that often we'll see a student has gone to college, left college, come back to college, then went in the military, also. So we try to be sensitive to it, but we would prefer if students were coming in with close to 2 years of coursework that would be transferable.
This is another question. Does ASL meet the requirement for language?
I
Sign
can
language.
tell you that we do. That's a really good question. I can tell you that you can learn ASL at Stanford and use that for the language requirement. I don't know how transferring the ASL classes you've taken at your previous institution works, whether that you can do that or not. I won't even try to guess. But you can take ASL at courses at Stanford and use that as a language requirement.
This is a question people are asking about minors. Can you do like 1 or 2 minors as a pre-med student? And I would just say, why?
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't encourage that, especially as a transfer student. You can, though. Stanford does not have a limit on majors and minors. If you can pay, somebody's going to pay for you to stay long enough to complete a major or two and some minors, that's great. Now, if you are depending on Stanford's financial aid or a scholarship, they often have limitations on how long you can continue to stay at Stanford. So that's the real limit. And
Um,
add I think, and most of my colleagues, if not all, most of them, I should say, I do know an exception, think there's really an overemphasis on these kinds of credentials. Yes, they are impressive to have majors and minors. However, at some point you can the return on your investment just starts to fall very low. So.
yeah, I would just say that there's like research and clinical, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could take that yeah, I mean, unless you really want to do a minor, but like it's not going to help you. And also, a lot of you are asking questions about getting into Stanford Medical School, and we'll have the dean of admission from Stanford Medical School on the 22nd of November, Dr. De Jesus Perez. So he'll be here in a couple of weeks. So hold your questions till then. I'm just like not even. People want to know if you are an older student, do you have to provide your high school transcript? Do you have to also provide take the SAT and ACT test? All of that good stuff if you're an older student. Oh, and also if you've taken your SAT like 10 years ago, do you still need to retake it?
No to the latter question. Just it's just a requirement, but and we look, we take that into account. We understand that. That's but these are required. I think if there's special circumstances, one of the things we really understand is, for example, more recent students, the pandemic, during the pandemic, you couldn't take the test. So but it is a requirement, and we would probably want to know if the reasons behind the inability to take it, even though you're an older student, actually. So yeah. And by the way, just it's good practice since they have this other test you're going to have to take down the line here called the medical boards or medical school
MCAT, yeah.
exam. So to take these tests is actually probably good practice for the future of taking more tests if you're really interested in pursuing medicine.
Yeah, it's not just that, it's also um it is also the SH, I mean the LSAT,
Right.
the GRE, the
All of those.
GMAT. You will take the alphabet soup of exams
Yeah,
for anything you want to do post bachelor's.
that's
And
right.
this is a question they want to ask Dean Shaw about what's the percentage of how many people applied, what's the percentage of admission, and also and I would just say that the only data that I know that's not posted, but I know that Dean Shaw shared with me is that 100% of people that don't apply don't get in. So you
Yeah.
don't know how many people are going to apply this year. I don't think Dean Shaw knows too, right?
Right. Well, we don't now, but it's if it's a little bit like a baseball adage, if you don't swing, you don't hit. And but I think, that's why I keep talking about the breadth of institutions because it was well over 4,000 applicants last year for and a 2% admit rate. So that number was actually correct, or it's even less. So it's very, very competitive. And but nevertheless, you take your I mean, we have 6 kids. We have 6 tomorrow that got in. So, and they played the odds. So I think but you really have to think about am I going to be competitive? And I think grades matter, courses matter, all of that matters. And even when you have it all, the odds aren't very good. But we don't want to discourage anybody from trying.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you that two of the people that are speaking tomorrow, single moms and have pretty like amazing life stories. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
very inspiring. So um but yeah, I mean, take take a chance and you know drown out the noise. But yes.
yeah.
Um this is another question. What do you look for essays and any words of wisdom about the essays that you want to give?
I love that. This is
Well,
the
what do you want to read? What do you want to read on the essays?
this is $1,000 question, but all we want you to do is look at the nature of the question and just be honest and be yourself. Be authentic. Don't try to game it. Just respond and pause for a minute and really think through you as the human being. Don't ask AI either, by the way. You just think a little bit about what matters to you. What is how is it what is your initial response to the question, and then be very honest about it and then augment it. We're trying to get to know you a little bit better, but we're not looking for a Pulitzer Prize winner. We're trying we're I think you but your thoughtfulness is important, and your authenticity, being yourself, being authentic is really important. But otherwise, it runs the gamut, and the stories are so broad they're so variable that there's no way to try to advise you as to where you should, focus your attention. Just answer the question, but do it in a way that's meaningful to you.
Yeah, and you guys are asking where you could get help from essays. It's your transfer center at your community college, which almost every single one of them have them. There's also the writing center that almost every community college has them. Your English professors, that is also if you have taken an English class and the professor, you could ask them to help you. There's a lot of resources out there, and and I think you just have to go and find those resources in your own community. Obviously, if you go into a bigger community college, it's going to have more of those resources, but a smaller one, there's a lot of faculty. A lot of them have gone to college and grad school, and they could help you as well. So, but I would just also say, if you're not a good writer, um, your essays, you can't do it on, you can't write those essays on, when is it, 3/14, the day before the applications are due, because you're probably not gonna, I would say open up the application, look at the essays, percolate, write it a couple times, have people look at it, edit it. But also you have to meet those characters. You can't go over, you can't write 75 pages because they're not gonna, it's not gonna fit into the box. So, and that's an art, and that becomes part of practice. And if you want to go into a medical school, law school, graduate school, even jobs now require you to write these essays, and don't use AI. I mean, AI detectors are all over the place now. So,
Yeah, just make sure it's your own voice. What happens is people can run away with it, but make sure it's your voice, the voice you want to hear. When you read it, you want to say, "Yeah, that's me. That's me." But getting editorial help is probably not a bad thing. But I would just be very careful not to let somebody else run away with it.
um, some people want to know about people that have GEDs. What should they do?
Yeah, just send us the GED. We just want to see one of our rules is you have to be a high school graduate, period. So the GED or high school equivalency is required. You have to have a secondary school, whether it's a GED or other kind of equivalency or certainly a diploma. We need to have those, which is the final transcript from high school, actually.
Somebody wants to know, are the essay prompts same every year, or do they change?
They change a little bit, but they're pretty consistent actually over time. I think this year they're the same.
Yeah, and then the other question they want to know about after you get accepted, um, can you change can you change your major if you have a change of heart? And how early do you have to do that?
Yes, the answer is yes. We're going to probably, you may be talking about what you want to pursue, right? But both Ingrid and I would say we know. I often say we may fool you when you get here, and you're going to realize that there's so many other possibilities that we don't want to dissuade you from that. And you should have some sense of the direction you want to go in after 2 years of school, but it may be as broad as I really love the humanities or I really love the natural sciences. And then if you get here, you're going to have options that are sort of amazing. So we're not admitting you to the major. We're admitting you to Stanford. Yeah.
Yeah, and this person wants to know, they heard that you can't transfer as an engineering major, which I think that's false because one of the people speaking tomorrow is an engineering major. And what do you recommend for people that are interested in engineering?
Math,
Math and
mathematics,
physics.
engineering, physics. Take hard science and mathematics and You know, it maybe CS, there are a lot of different variabilities here, but you know, I think engineering courses, they like to, you know, and I noticed their pre-engineering courses, they may or may not even transfers. So, but to get the basic, really strong areas, particularly in mathematics, Ingrid, what would you say?
I agree absolutely completely. The School of Engineering has their own requirements that you would have
Yeah,
to fill out in addition to the department requirements. And they're different for each program or each department, but generally coding, CS course, you want to be careful. A basic CS course should be fine unless you just love CS, because do have some students who have taken CS at their previous institutions, but because they learned a different language, they had to retake Stanford's intro courses. But you want to be familiar because you will have to take, for most, in 99% of the cases, a CS course. You'll have to finish the calculus. You'll have to be finished with calculus at some point. So yes, take calculus or anything you need to do to get you ready to take calculus. Um, and physics, I think, yeah, intro to physics is a pretty good guess for engineering.
and
Yeah, and I
again,
would,
you're being admitted to the university, so you don't be driven by, oh my God, have I done the right things for engineering? But you do need basic courses. You need the strength of the courses. So when you arrive here and you attempt to pursue the major, you have to have really strong math skills because that you know and have you've had some engagement in courses that are in the probably in the natural sciences or in those areas, quantitative areas.
yeah, and I would just tell you that taking a calculus class at your community college is I don't think they teach anything differently. It's the same concept, the same math, and if you want to do anything with engineering, that's like the foundation of engineering. Um, the other question somebody asked about financial aid, and can you go a little bit about that? Somebody posted in there, said that Cal grants, you can't use Cal grants or something.
We that's correct, but we pay for it. We replace the Cal Grant and pay the same amount.
Okay.
We're a little bit sideways with expectations from the state, so we took the cost, so don't worry about it.
Um, and then Dr. Anderson, some people want to ask about coterminal degrees.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with I would want to let everybody know that it is difficult but not impossible for transfer students to earn coterminal degrees. The benefit of the coterm degree, part of the benefit is that you can start working on your master's degree while you're still working on your bachelor's degree. You don't have to finish the bachelor's degree and then do the master's. So it's very reasonable and realistic that a student can finish a bachelor's and a master's degree in 5 years instead of 6. Another benefit for that sometimes works for people who come in as freshmen is that some of them finish the bachelor's degree and the coterminal degree in 4 years, meaning that they have financial aid. If they're receiving financial aid, a free ride, they can get both of those without paying additional money for a master's degree. That is very extremely difficult for a transfer student to accomplish. And more than likely, you'll have to stay an additional year to finish a coterminal degree. I think you need to have 120 units before you can apply for a coterminal program. You can take some of those graduate courses to try a program out to see if you're actually interested in doing graduate level work in a program. And then you'll be able to count those to the coterminal program if you are admitted. Um, I generally caution students. I caution students from deciding too quickly that they want to do a co-term, because you are working on a master's degree and you want to be thoughtful about why you want a master's degree. If you're only doing it so that you have that credential or because it seems easy, that might not be the best way for you to spend your dollars. You might be better off getting some experience. And trying to go back to a master's program. It's something you want to be thoughtful about, but it's definitely an opportunity that you will have at Stanford.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is financial aid is not eternal.
Absolutely.
You're gonna hit limits in financial aid, and you may not have the funding, so you need to keep that in mind. For example, when I was talking about vets, you might have undergraduate aid, and then you'll have to turn to your veteran benefits, if you wanted to do co-term or or move on to graduate school. So just keep in mind financial aid. That's something you want to consider in making these kinds of decisions.
Yeah, I would just say also, some of you are asking about computer science. My school had a thing with Stanford that we took a code in place class where it's actually any place in the world you could take this class. And I think it's the 106A class at Stanford that they're doing. And so it's free. You can go and look at it and do it. I took it and I really liked it. It was fun.
It's very famous,
Yeah.
this class. This is it's like you've heard of the Pied Piper, right? Taking all those little things to the water. Well, that's what 106A does. Is suddenly you're going to you thought you were focused on English literature, and all of a sudden you become a computer science. So it is something that really reflects the role of computer science in the world. It's really quite a course. So if you can take it, although I must say that the people that are teaching it physically here, it's really pretty special.
Yeah, no, it's actually done really well. Like I said, I took it and they asked me to be a TA in the class, and unfortunately I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I just didn't have the time to do it. But it's really fun place that
yeah.
they teach it. And so um the other thing is people wanting to know about what kind of activities are you looking for your transfer applicants do that you want to see.
there's no answer to that. It's just completely variable. I say to anybody that do what makes you happy. Do things that if you're engaged in something outside the classroom or affiliated to the class experience, do things that really you find joy in, things that you really want to do, because that comes through in the application. If it's working in a community, environment, or working for a community, or you're working also part-time when you're going to college or whatever it is, you should really just focus on things that that excite you, and join those things that excite you, that you, instead of doing it to get in, do it because it's something you want to do. And by doing that, it really results in that enthusiasm coming through in the application itself. And there's huge variability here. I mean, we've had over the 20 years I've been here, the transfers we've had are coming from every conceivable background. And they were former professional musicians, they were the military, whatever. And so we don't close the doors on anybody. We try to leave them open and allow you to talk about things you care about.
Um, the thing is, people want to know, what about older students? How old is too old?
75. I don't, there's no limitation, and it's even on the other end. I told you what that range was, 16 to 40. But we've had students that are older. And sometimes it's they had a whole life and then they decided I'm going back to college and they went to community college and blew the socks off of the place and went on and got their baccalaureate. So there's no age limit and there's indeed no discrimination against anybody because of their age. You take your shot, as they say.
Yeah, Michael Jordan said 100% of shots you don't take, you miss. So,
That's exactly right. And now we've got that. Now we have a baseball analogy that you didn't swing, and now it's basketball. So,
and Michael Jordan is still the best player.
oh,
I don't
okay,
want to take that argument from anyone else.
okay, all right. I liked Kobe, but okay, no.
Uh, mm, I give you that, but I mean, Kobe needed Shaq, but we're
Okay,
not going to argue about basketball.
okay.
uh,
Thank you.
I'm calling LeBron right now and telling what you said. Okay, there we go.
somebody wants to know if they had really poor performance in high school, but then did great at community college. Does that impact them?
Not really. I mean, we look at it, but we're going to look at your community college record. And now we only go back and focus at the high school level if you haven't had if you were like a first year student or applicant, first year community college applicant, then we would definitely be in the high school transcript. But generally, we try to give you that second time around concept, which is if you knock the ball out of the park in those 2 years in community college, then good for you. That's sometimes why we go to community college because we didn't do so well in high school. We get that.
So somebody posted this in this article. Dean Shaw wrote, "Each class is a symphony with its own distinct composition and sound. What do you believe a distinguished specific student as one which would fit into Stanford?"
Which of the instruments, right? Yeah, yeah. No, I think people that that maybe the sound is the sound of joy. Come on, they'll fit. We want them to fit. But every instrument, just the whole concept there is that's who we are. We're a symphony orchestra, and every instrument matters. In order to have an extraordinary community. So I think any of you out there can be one of the instruments, and that you should know that. I kind of like the bassoon though; it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is some people were asking questions about if you were a homeschooler and if you were homeschooled, what do you do?
No, no problem. We get it. We have homeschool kids that are admitted in the first year, and that's fine. But the key, if you were homeschooled, then the key is did you graduate, or how did you graduate, or did the high school community provide documentation on your graduation, or did you is the certification there? But no problem, no problem.
People want to know what should be the range of their SAT or ACT score for admission.
That I think that's unfair to even throw that out there. You can look at the data for first year students, but I know many of you are applying many years later, or you might be taking the test. So I don't I really don't want to throw a number out there and terrify people. So remember, that's just a factor among many.
And
Obviously, if you're pursuing certain areas that we're going to be looking at math, or we might be looking at if it's literature, or if it's something else, we might be looking at that. But it's a factor among many. So I wouldn't let that I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep over that. At the freshman level, it's far more important, the first year level.
Yeah, this is also wanting to know if you've taken the SAT multiple times. Does that look bad?
No,
And
no,
do you
but
see all the scores?
we should just send your highest scores. Just send the, and what we do with all those scores is we take the highest composite. So if you took three, we'll take the highest from every part of the exam, and that's the score. So
Um,
no problem.
Somebody wants to know if I take the SAT in December, will my score be available next March? I
Yeah,
believe so, yeah.
yes, yes,
I think December is the last time you could take it.
yeah.
Um, there's a lot of SAT, ACT questions. Yes, you could take it anytime. They can't stop you if you're an older student.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, you have full access. Just go to the testing
yeah,
website
websites.
websites. They'll tell you.
Um, and also, do you have fee waivers for your application? Yes,
Yes.
it's posted right there
Yeah.
on the application. What if you had a lot of W's or EW's? Does that look bad? Excused withdrawals or medical withdrawals?
You know, we're just going to look at every unique situation, right? Yeah. I mean, if you were hospitalized, that's a good reason to have W's, right? Or if something came, the challenges and if you have challenges, you should share those, with us in the file if it shows an inconsistent sort of engagement with your college.
Also dual enrollments. Do you apply as a transfer student or as a first year student?
If you're high school dual, that those units are utilized for your high school, so we don't take them.
So you apply as a first year. Okay. Uh, this person said I applied last application cycle and got rejected. What should I do?
Well, you can apply again. There, we have you can apply as many as three times if you think you're going to be far more competitive. But I also think in a situation like that was, what are your options? My message earlier was, it can be disappointing for sure, but look at the odds. So make sure you have other options and then try to pursue those. But if your heart's still in it and something has changed pretty substantially from the last time around, or more coursework or extraordinary acceleration or whatever, then you can take your shot. But it's pretty tough. It's going to continue to be tough.
Yeah, and also, I mean, hopefully you're applying to multiple places. Um,
I keep emphasizing that because I've been in multiple places. So there are other good, there's a lot of good options out there.
yeah, actually, it's funny. So we had person who just recently won the Nobel Prize. He went to Foothill and he applied to transfer as a to Stanford, didn't get accepted, went to UCLA or UCSD and did his PhD at UCLA, and now he's gonna actually be a guest next when he's not busy.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, that's right. That's exactly right. It ain't the end of the world, right? Just go on and excel in other places.
Um, the other question people want to ask is the art portfolio. Oh, but there's a lot of Kobe and Shaq things. I, I will, I
Well,
will
it's Friday
ban.
afternoon. What the heck are you doing? This is way too serious. Okay.
No, to ask you, they're saying, Kobe, Kobe. Anyways,
Okay.
we're just gonna. Um, what was the question I asked? I'm sorry. Oh, people want to know if they have taken gap years before they apply. Um, if they have taken gap years, does that impact them?
No, we'll look at it. Although keep in mind that you're a year out from your sort of classroom experience. But I think if it's a gap year, that we really want to know what that was all about. What is the gap? Sometimes people take a gap year and they go on to do service, right? Or they go on to do, or to have an internship in Europe or what. Those are all perfectly reasonable. One of the things that the farther you get away from, the sort of the academic environment, the farther you get away, I think the adjustment's tougher. So, but 1 year out, we have a lot of people doing gap years in different places, and so I think it's okay.
And some people need to take a year off just to work to be able to pay the
That's
bills
that's
and
that's
support their
exactly right.
family,
Yeah, that's right. That's
and
right.
all those things. And so,
Yep.
um, there's many, there's many ways that people have to live.
You bet.
Um, they want to know about letters of recommendations, and it says to instructors, but what do those instructors have to be? Do they have to be in your major? Do they have to be not in your major?
I think it's remember you're not being admitted to the major. But if it's a classroom academic instructor, it's somebody who you took a class from and you felt like that there was a good, it's hard for me not to give a good piece of advice. Go to somebody that knows you, right? And knows your work or knows your work and can testify to your role in the classroom or how you did. But and it's not, in it, maybe if it's somebody you have a really good relationship with and it's the second year of community college and they're faculty in the area which you think you want to pursue, sure, go ahead. But get people, I mean, get faculty who know you. I think that's the key. Because otherwise they write perfunctory recommendations that really aren't helpful.
So if you get a letter recommendation, Johnny Appleseed was my student in my general chemistry. He scored in the 94 percentile out of class of 25, and yeah, and that's it.
Yeah,
Or if
and so I have his grade on the transcript.
what if
That
they
doesn't
say, oh,
doesn't help.
Johnny Appleseed worked and was providing care and was part of leadership and
Yeah, it's a matter of just how what was the engagement in the classroom? What's the perspective of the faculty member? We can't solve this one because faculty members are all over the map. So remember, it's just one factor among many.
yeah, make sure you ask them if they could write you a good letter of
Yeah, well,
recommendation.
I think the thing is that we also allow for a third rec. I told you earlier, and that might be somebody who you'd like to have augment your candidacy as well, and that can be whoever you choose. Often, for a military, sometimes we get the military, their commanding officer writes the rec. So, it's, if you have that option.
Um, the other part of it too is, does Stanford offer research while you're a student there?
Oh, take that away, Ingrid.
Love to. Yes, absolutely. So first of all, we have an office that focuses specifically on offering or helping to coordinate or provide a clearinghouse for undergraduate research. So if you Google undergraduate research and independent projects, you'll learn about many funding opportunities as well as see what type of guidance they have. There are programs also in addition that support students in addition to funding research or time to do research. We have some funding for attending conferences. Additionally, you don't have to depend on anything even that's in that website to get connected with somebody doing research. Actually, we have had some students who started doing research the summer before they even started classes. So you can apply to different summer research programs. And what I tell students who are interested in research, you can be at a disadvantage because you're starting, especially if you're starting as the equivalent of a junior. You haven't had a chance to explore different classes, meet different professors, and figure out what you want to do. Hopefully, you have some idea of what kind of research you want to do. It's even better if you have done some research before you get to Stanford, but that's not necessary. I spend a lot of time talking to the students in the summer before their first fall quarter, who are interested in research and coaching them on what they can do to start looking for opportunities over the summer. So yes, many opportunities. And I will say that transfer students, Dean Shaw has heard me talk about this, they're overrepresented in some of the awards that students get for research. And last year I think it was 3 students that were admitted to the, oh goodness, not West Point, what's the Oxford, anyway, big fellowship.
Rhodes Scholar.
Rhodes Scholars, yes. One of them was a transfer student. So that's really awesome. So yes, there's lots of opportunities to do research and connect with instructors, to connect with researchers. And I wrote it in one of the questions. Stanford transfers have great reputations among faculty and staff at Stanford. So, when you go to class, go to office hours, you would say, hey, I'm a transfer student. I'm really interested to learn about your research. I'd like to get involved. They're likely to snap you up pretty quickly.
Yeah, the other question is they want to know if you are coming from out of state or California, or you're at a disadvantage.
We have, what did I say, 35 community colleges. Many of them are from other states. So because we aren't a public university in California, we are a private university serving the world. So the competition is worldwide. And a lot of the transfers are from other states and other community colleges in other states. So it's pretty special. But the majority are actually of the CC students are from California.
Yeah, I mean, I think tomorrow Carla's from Connecticut, so
Yeah.
Oh, I know who that is. Yeah.
uh, yeah, so California love, baby. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go because you were 6 minutes over our time, and
Yeah, what I'm impressed with is that you had 114 and 88 are still here. So those 88 people, boy, I don't know, we ought to send them a special gift, don't you think?
sure, we'll send them a cookie.
Okay, send them a cookie. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you again for coming,
Yeah,
Dean Shaw and Dr. Anderson. Great
yeah.
seeing you again. And I love your background says find your path. And I think we titled this thing the group comes up with these names, so it's not like I wish I could take full credit for, but I think they called it your story, your shot. And yeah, take your shot. Absolutely.
Take your shot. There you go. Take care.
Thank you again, Dean Shaw.
Been fun. I enjoyed
Bye-bye.
it. Good luck, everybody.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.